Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Thursday, February 13th, 2025.
China's rural banking sector shakeup. China's banking sector is undergoing a dramatic transformation as rural banks merge to create larger institutions, valued at around 57 trillion yuan, or about $8 trillion US. This move aims to tackle the challenges posed by nearly 4,000 small banks, many of which are burdened by heavy debts from provincial governments. In 2024, over 290 rural banks and cooperatives have already combined, marking the largest wave of mergers since the early 2000s. With slowing loan growth and a rise in non-performing loans, especially due to a property crisis, the newly formed Liaoning Rural Commercial Bank has integrated 36 struggling local lenders. As of the third quarter of 2023, rural commercial banks reported a bad loan ratio of 3.04%, nearly double the overall sector average. While analysts believe the banking system remains relatively healthy after years of cleanup, some experts caution that merging troubled banks may only create larger institutions with unresolved issues. These mergers are part of broader reforms aimed at stabilizing the rural banking sector and addressing the risks posed by smaller, troubled banks. What does this mean for everyday citizens in rural China?
Ukraine's strategic mineral resources. Ukraine is working to secure ongoing military support from the United States by tapping into its rich mineral resources, particularly rare earth elements. This effort comes amid a fierce struggle for sovereignty against Russia, which began with a full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022. President Zelensky and his chief of staff, Yermak, are highlighting the potential of these untapped resources, including lithium and titanium. Currently, Ukraine's mineral sector contributes significantly to its economy, but much of its wealth remains inaccessible due to the conflict. The European Commission sees Ukraine as a key supplier of important materials, which could boost the European economy if Ukraine joins the European Union. U.S. President Trump is interested in negotiating a deal to ensure continued support for Ukraine, emphasizing the strategic importance of these resources in reducing reliance on foreign suppliers, especially China. As discussions unfold, the development of Ukraine's mineral wealth could reshape global relationships, impacting the dynamics between the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia.
Dutch Prime Minister boosts support for tech startups. Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof has unveiled new initiatives to support technology startups and attract venture capital in the Netherlands. Recent research shows that the tech sector is facing significant challenges, with fewer companies securing funding. Despite this, total venture capital funding for Dutch firms rose by 47% to €3.1 billion, placing the Netherlands fourth in Europe for investment. Schoof stressed the importance of creating a favorable environment to compete with the United States and China, mentioning plans to cut red tape and invest more in artificial intelligence. His commitment to enhancing the tech sector is vital for driving innovation and job creation. Notably, 2 Dutch companies achieved unicorn status in 2024, highlighting the potential for growth in this dynamic landscape.
Netanyahu's warning on Gaza hostages. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warns that fighting in Gaza could restart if Hamas does not release more hostages by February 14, 2025. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened a major escalation if the hostage release is delayed. Tensions are rising as Hamas plans to postpone the next exchange of captives. Currently, 76 hostages are held after a terrorist attack by Hamas on October 7, 2023, which killed 1,200 people and led to the kidnapping of 250. Since Israel's military operations began, over 48,000 Palestinians have died, creating a severe humanitarian crisis for 2.3 million residents. Netanyahu emphasizes that if the hostages are not returned by the deadline, military operations will resume. The situation is further complicated by international dynamics, with Trump suggesting that neighboring countries like Jordan and Egypt should accept displaced Palestinians. Meanwhile, the Hostages Families Forum urges Netanyahu to maintain the ceasefire to protect the hostages from further suffering.
Trump's executive order to cut federal workforce. On February 12, 2025, President Donald Trump signed an executive order aimed at cutting the federal workforce. This new rule allows agencies to hire just one new employee for every 4 who leave, while keeping a hiring freeze at the Internal Revenue Service. Positions related to public safety and immigration enforcement are not affected by these cuts. The order targets roles that aren't legally required, such as diversity and inclusion initiatives. Recently, the White House Office of Personnel Management offered a severance package to federal workers willing to resign, but a federal judge, George A. O'Toole Jr., temporarily halted this plan just hours before the deadline. So far, over 60,000 federal employees have agreed to resign, which is about 3% of the 2 million eligible workers. These workforce reductions have sparked rising tensions in Washington, D.C., as many express concerns about the impact on public services and job security.
Germany's refugee housing crisis. Germany is grappling with a refugee housing crisis as local authorities in Rot am Inn, a small village in Bavaria, plan to house 300 refugees in an abandoned lamp factory. This decision has ignited protests, with residents expressing their worries about overcrowding and safety. With only 2,200 residents, the village is feeling the pressure, especially as public sentiment shifts ahead of the national elections on February 23, 2025. Support for the hard-right party, Alternative for Germany, AfD, is rising, reflecting growing resistance to accepting more refugees. Otto Lederer, the administrator of the Rosenheim district, mentioned that efforts to find alternative housing have failed, while the state of Bavaria turned down a proposal for container housing due to costs. A recent survey found that nearly 40% of municipalities in Germany are in emergency mode regarding their refugee situations, with public opposition climbing to 68%. The federal government allocates €7,500 annually per asylum seeker, but actual costs are closer to €15,000, revealing the financial strain on local governments. As municipalities report a staggering deficit of €25 billion, the challenges of providing adequate support for refugees continue to grow.
Gold and silver prices surge amid trade tensions. Gold and silver prices are shining brighter as markets respond to ongoing trade tensions and fresh economic data from the United States. On February 13, 2025, spot gold jumped to $2,908.50 per ounce, reflecting a 0.2% increase, while U.S. gold futures rose 0.3% to $2,936.50. This surge follows President Donald Trump's announcement of mutual tariffs on countries that impose duties on U.S. imports, sparking concerns about a potential global trade war and rising inflation. Investors are turning to gold as a secure investment amid these uncertainties. The U.S. Consumer Price Index also showed an unexpected rise in January, prompting the Federal Reserve to maintain a cautious approach to interest rates. Meanwhile, silver prices climbed to $32.29 per ounce, with platinum and palladium also seeing gains. As discussions continue to resolve the ongoing war in Ukraine, precious metals like gold and silver remain attractive options for investors looking to navigate a volatile market.
U.S. intelligence warns a potential Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear program. U.S. intelligence agencies are sounding the alarm that Israel may soon launch a preventive military strike on Iran's nuclear facilities, possibly by mid-year 2025. This action could delay Iran's nuclear ambitions by weeks or months, but it also risks escalating tensions in the region. Reports indicate this situation stems from the end of the Biden administration and the beginning of the Trump administration, with the White House keeping quiet on the matter. Brian Hughes, a spokesperson for the National Security Council, emphasized that Donald Trump is committed to preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons. While Trump prefers a diplomatic solution, he won't wait indefinitely for Iran to engage in talks. Intelligence suggests Israel may target Iran's Fordow and Natanz sites, believing a previous airstrike in October 2024 weakened Iran's defenses. The atmosphere is charged with uncertainty, as retaliatory strikes between Iran and Israel have intensified over the past year, particularly amid Israel's military actions in Gaza. Recent discussions in Geneva with Iran and key European nations aim to revive nuclear negotiations, highlighting the complexities of this geopolitical landscape.
Urgent call for climate action. Mark Howden, director of the Institute for Climate, Energy and Disaster Solutions at the Australian National University in Canberra, Australia, has made a powerful plea for climate action. Following a record-breaking year in 2024, he warns that countries with high greenhouse gas emissions like Australia must take significant steps to reduce their environmental impact. For the first time, global temperatures have risen above 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels, signaling a critical warning for our planet. This alarming trend indicates we are facing severe weather events like never before, with the last decade being the hottest on record. Howden stresses that rising temperatures are changing weather patterns and intensifying climate-related disasters. He urges Australia to harness its natural resources to lead in renewable energy and climate adaptation. Yet, he expresses concern that Australia isn't fully utilizing its options to combat climate change. His message is clear. The time for immediate and effective action is now, as the future of our planet hangs in the balance.
Tulsi Gabbard confirmed as Director of National Intelligence. Tulsi Gabbard has officially been appointed as the new head of U.S. intelligence, following a narrow Senate vote of 52 to 48. This decision underscores the deep partisan divide in Congress and comes after Gabbard's notable tenure as a U.S. representative from Hawaii, where she gained national attention during her 2020 presidential run. As the leader of the intelligence community, Gabbard will manage crucial operations that impact national security. Senator Mitch McConnell voiced his concerns about her qualifications, highlighting the importance of trust in such a significant role. With public confidence in intelligence agencies declining, Gabbard has acknowledged the need for these organizations to operate free from political influence. Her confirmation could reshape the future of U.S. intelligence, as her views on foreign policy and security come into play.
Elon Musk's controversial bid for OpenAI. Elon Musk has made headlines with his jaw-dropping $97.4 billion offer to acquire OpenAI, a nonprofit based in San Francisco. This bold move raises eyebrows, especially since Musk previously sued OpenAI, arguing its assets should stay within a charitable trust instead of being privatized for profit. Co-founded by Musk in 2015 with CEO Sam Altman, OpenAI aims to develop friendly artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity. Musk's bid sparks important questions about the ethics of making AI private, particularly after the success of OpenAI's ChatGPT. Many see this as an attempt to gain control over a competitor in the fast-paced AI field. This situation highlights the ongoing debate about balancing profit with public good in AI development. As this story unfolds, the implications of Musk's bid could significantly shape the future of AI governance.
Concerns over tariffs impacting U.S. auto industry. Ford CEO Jim Farley is sounding the alarm about proposed tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada. He warns that a steep 25% tax could seriously hurt the U.S. auto industry, creating money problems for American carmakers while giving foreign competitors an advantage. This discussion included Senators Roger Marshall, Alyssa Slotkin, and Chuck Schumer, who raised concerns about rising inflation. Former President Donald Trump had already set a 25% tax on steel and aluminum imports, effective March 4, 2025, and added a 10% tax on goods from China. Farley believes these tariffs could be one of Trump's biggest moves, with potentially devastating effects on the auto sector. With the industry heavily relying on parts from Mexico and Canada, higher vehicle prices could hurt consumers. Plus, if Congress cuts tax incentives for electric vehicles, it could threaten jobs in the industry. What does this mean for the future of American cars?
That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.